Have you ever looked at someone else's life and thought, if only I had what they have, I'd finally be happy? A stonecutter once thought the same, until life granted his wish and showed him the painful truth about comparison. Once upon a time, there was a stonecutter who lived in a small village. Every morning, he rose early, went to the foot of the mountain, and carved stones. When the sun was high, sweat drenched his clothes, his hands were covered in calluses, and yet the money he earned was barely enough to get by. He loved his work. There was peace in shaping stone, the weight of his hands, the rhythm of the hammer, the way the rock slowly took form. These things grounded him. But one day, everything changed. While carrying stones to a wealthy merchant's mansion, he saw the splendor inside, silk fabrics, golden ornaments, servants everywhere. The merchant sat comfortably in the shade, sipping cool drinks, while the stonecutter labored under the scorching sun. That night, when he returned home, he looked at his tiny hut. The worn-out walls, the hard bed, the empty table. A heaviness grew inside him. "I wish I were rich," he whispered. "I wish I had a life like that merchant's. Then I would finally be happy." And at that moment, a mysterious voice spoke. "Your wish is granted." When he opened his eyes, he was dressed in silk garments. Luxury surrounded him. Servants waited on him, bringing the finest foods to his table. He had become a wealthy merchant. At first, it was mesmerizing. He could have anything he wanted. He no longer sweated. His hands were soft. No one gave him orders. But as days passed, he began to feel something missing. All this comfort felt hollow. People approached him only for his money. Friends seemed fake. At night, he lay awake, restless. One day, looking out from his mansion window, he saw the royal parade passing by. The king, seated on a golden throne, was greeted with respect by everyone, protected by guards. Even the sunlight seemed to shine differently upon him. The merchant sighed. "That is real power," he thought. "Wealth isn't enough. I wish I were a king. Then I'd truly be powerful." And again the voice came, "Your wish is granted." In an instant, he found himself in the throne room. He wore a crown. He was the king. Everyone obeyed him. With a single command, he could move armies, create laws, and rule the land. He was powerful, respected, feared. At first, the feeling was intoxicating. Power, real power. This was it. But soon the weight of power began to press on him. Every decision carried consequences. People constantly wanted something from him. He felt conspiracies lurking in the palace halls. He couldn't sleep, for there was no one he could trust. And worst of all, there was one thing he couldn't control. One summer day, he sat on his throne, sweating in the brutal heat. The sun's merciless rays beat down on him, and nothing could cool him. Despite all his power, he couldn't command the sun. "What good is being king," he thought, "when the sun is stronger than I am? It burns and shines wherever it pleases. No one commands it. I wish I were the sun. Then I'd be truly the most powerful of all." The voice returned. "Your wish is granted." In an instant, he was shining high above the world. He was the sun. What a magnificent feeling. He looked down upon the earth, sending light wherever he pleased, ripening crops, warming the seas. No one commanded him. He was the strongest of all. At first, it was incredible. Limitless power. No one could stand before him. But then, he noticed something. Clouds could block his light. One day, great storm clouds gathered and completely hid his rays. No matter how brightly he tried to shine, the clouds covered him. People below could no longer see his light. Anger rose within him. "How can this be?" he thought. "I am the sun. Yet these clouds can block me. So I'm not the strongest after all. The clouds are stronger. I wish I were a storm cloud." The voice spoke one last time. "Your wish is granted." Now he was a dark storm cloud. He drifted across the sky, pouring rain, flashing lightning, even blocking out the sun itself. What power! He could destroy crops, flood rivers. People feared him. For days he raged joyfully, reveling in his strength. But then he noticed something. No matter how much rain he poured, no matter how fierce his winds blew, one thing never changed. The mountain. A massive mountain stood there, unmoving. Despite all his power, the mountain didn't even flinch. The cloud grew weary. His power faded. But the mountain remained, unshaken, eternal. That's true strength, the cloud thought. The mountain's stronger than I am. No matter what I do, I can't move it. I wish I were the mountain. Then I would be powerful forever, and his wish was granted. Now he was a vast mountain, rising into the sky, piercing through the clouds, standing for centuries. Nothing could affect him. Storms came and went. The sun burned and faded. Kings were born and died. But he remained, unshaken, eternal. At first there was peace. At last, he had reached true power. Nothing could disturb him. But as days passed, he began to hear a sound, a small, sharp sound. Tap. He looked down. There, at his base, stood a man, a stonecutter, with a hammer in hand, chipping away at his body, piece by piece. The mountain was stunned. How is this possible? I am the mountain, the strongest of all. But this tiny man, he is shaping me, changing me, reducing me. And in that moment, he understood. The strongest one isn't me. It's the stonecutter. He can even change me. He almost said, I wish. But he stopped. He looked at the man's face, sweating, hands rough and calloused. Yet there was peace in his eyes. Purpose, meaning. The mountain sighed. I wish I were a stonecutter again. When he opened his eyes, he held his hammer once more. He was at the foot of the mountain, sweating, hands rough and strong. He was a stonecutter again. But this time, everything felt different. He lifted his hammer and struck the rock. The sound echoed through the valley, and at that moment he felt a deep peace within. He remembered the merchant's wealth, but he hadn't been happy. He remembered the king's power, but he'd had no peace. He remembered the sun's brilliance, but it had been blocked. He remembered the cloud's might, but it had been lonely. He remembered the mountain's strength, but it had been shaped by a stonecutter. And at last he understood. True power wasn't in being someone else. It was in valuing who he already was, in the work of his own hands, in the meaning of his craft, in the quiet peace of his own small world. He smiled. For the first time, he truly smiled. And he raised his hammer once more, striking the stone. The stonecutter tried to be everything, but found happiness only when he was himself. Comparison is the thief of joy. Don't try to be someone else. Make who you are valuable. This is Eastern Western Wisdoms. Thank you for watching. And remember, you are enough.